day of November 2019. Don't forget, you can also join the discussion using the hashtag #NCBreakfastCentral. Reach us on Twitter, reach us on Instagram, Facebook, and don't forget to like on YouTube, and also catch us live, www.newscentral.africa. Let's go straight to business now, shall we, with business as usual. And we'll be talking about big stories that happened at the weekend. Yes, indeed. And joining me is financial analyst Damilola Olupona. Thank you very much, Damilola. Welcome to Breakfast Central. It's actually your debut here, so we'll look to have you more. Let's go straight to the big stories from the weekend. Zimbabwe issues about they finally have a new low denomination currency that authorities hope will end chronic cash shortages, but the banks have maintained an existing weekly withdrawal limit of $20. So it's all about Zimbabwe and its new banknote issues. So the economic realities of this decision looks like it's going to be hitting everyone, rich and poor.
Yeah, true. Zimbabwe has been, the economy has been under pressure for some time now.
Yeah.
As we all know, inflation rate is currently around 380%. So meaning that their currency at the moment, is not valuable. So in a bit to curb all of these pressures, they're also facing slower growth pressures as well. There is also scarcity of FX and, so many macroeconomic issues, on that front. So in a bit to curb all of this, the Zimbabwean central bank, newly introduced new notes.
Lower denominations.
Yeah, lower denominations. The two Zimbabwe dollar note and the $5 note as well. And that's to improve currency liquidity in the system. Because what you find now is because of lack of availability of the Zimbabwean dollar there, you find that it's very, very difficult for individuals and businesses, to go about their daily activities. So at the moment, the government is looking to, the central bank is looking to curb that. But even the measures put in place at the moment are still not sufficient because the central bank says I think the monthly limit or thereabout is about 300 Zimbabwean dollars. And that's about
per person.
Yeah, per person, and that's about half of what the farmer needs, to purchase a bag of fertilizer. So that's to tell you the problem on that front. But what we heard is the central bank already approved a 30 million disbursement of about 30 million Zimbabwean dollars. So we hope in the coming weeks the currency will be fully circulated and economic activities can return to full.
Yeah, they talked about that. This one, they hope to end the chronic cash shortage in Zimbabwe. When you're injecting, currency of any denomination, does this, even if it's lower denomination, what about the rule about inflation? Even if because you would expect it, like we've seen in many African states, when you have when you've seen countries like Nigeria or some other countries inject 1,000 bills, 500 bills, that really help boost inflation rates in a short period of time. We have a country, Zimbabwe, who also have economic crunch in the last couple of years, injecting lower denominations. Does that follow the norm, the rule about the inflation rates?
That's not the norm, but what you find is in prior times we've seen the central bank come up with different initiatives to solve this problem, but they've largely failed.
Do we envisage for this? Because this one, we're not injecting $1,000 Zimbabwe bills, we're injecting lower denominations to improve the cash supply. So maybe is there going to be like a light at the end of the tunnel for this that really helps the average Zimbabwe?
I think so because as it seems at the moment, people don't even have cash. And we are seeing most people, go to the black market to get these currencies at a premium. I think at the moment, the premium is around 40%.
Wow.
So maybe to get 100 Naira, I need to pay 140 Naira equivalent of Zimbabwe currency. To get that. So we believe by the time these currencies, this $5 note and the $2 note, by the time they are fully circulated, that might curb the arbitrage and restore economic activities as well.
Well, we'll continue to follow proceedings out there in Zimbabwe. Really, really harsh economic times there. Let's go straight to South Africa. We talked about this earlier now, the impact where the South African Airways, cancelled flights over wage increase. Now, the labor unions there representing about 3,000 of its 5,000 strong members announced that the cabin crew and other workers of South African Airways will strike, which already started over the weekend, and the airline's refusal of salary hikes and plan to cut more than 900 jobs. And the strike continues up until today. We do know that a couple of flights have taken off, but the airline has since offered a minimum wage increase since the strike, and this has been rejected by the SAA staff. Are their demands justified at this point?
Well, from the company's standpoint, that's South African Airways, it doesn't appear justified because South African Airways has been under pressure as well. Since 2011, the airline has not made profit, and so it's been in a loss-making position. So it's actually very difficult on their part, to take in further wage increase.
Yeah.
But then when you look at it in broader terms, I think it's justified from the union's perspective. Yeah, in that South Africa has also been under pressure in recent times, and we've seen consumer purchasing power, weaken, over some period. So, and I think that accounts for why we are seeing that increased demand. But from the company side, it appears like they might not survive this. Because if the strike continues, the airline will lose approximately $3.4 million.
Yeah, this morning we have heard comments from one of the big bosses there that compensation for the customers because we've seen a lot of flights grounded. Basically, it's been a huge uproar. It's been chaos. Especially people who went to the airport on Friday and Saturday, like you can't fly where you're going to, and people who are even stuck abroad. So there'll be a bit of compensation. How does that really help? The problem right now, because if they're paying this compensation and they've not made profit, it's no longer news that these people didn't make profit all these years. They've just been going fiscal all this while. Is there going to be a crash and burn for SAA?
I think it won't end well because either ways, if you're paying compensation, it's still going to eat on your hands. And if at the end of the day you eventually
compensation, any form of refund.
Yeah, if you eventually succumb to pressure as well, and you agree terms, with the 8% wage increase as well, it's also going to eat your bottom line. And like I said, the company is not making enough, to provision for the wage increase. So expectation is that this might just be the end of the airline if both parties, fail to agree terms.
But even if they should agree terms in any way, form or manner, what about investments? About in getting, injecting money into SAA, to keep it afloat, to make it survive.
Yeah, like I said, the company has been in loss-making position, so they've relied solely on state intervention funds, to run the operations of the airline. So the South African government, has been intervening in terms of providing funds for day-to-day operations. So I feel like the government has so much bigger problems to deal with at the moment.
And to bail them out.
And we might not see further bailout, although that's we can't totally rule that out. But
I think is anyone really looking at the government now to bail them out, or more like private, investors and private, big shots, big business to come in, and take over while it still remains SAA? Any likelihood of that happening? Because it's the kind of doom and gloom we're predicting here that they will no longer be SAA. The South African, that is the national carrier of the Rainbow Nation.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we already have private company, invested in various airlines. So we might actually see one or two private company, come to take up the company. Yeah.
All right. So it looks like it's gloomy times for South African Airways. Oh my gosh, really terrible. We'll still stick with the south of the continent. Let's go to Namibia, and we'll talk about a bit of business here. Now, Namibia to issue 5-year South African travel visa. According to the president, Hage Geingob has announced that his government will issue a 5-year visa to South African business travelers in a bid to improve economic relations. This move could be adapted for other African countries, like improving trade relations. Namibia is part of the countries in the region. We're talking about SA having trouble, so issuing 5-year South African visa for South African business travelers. on a regional perspective, this looks like good news, right?
Yeah, true. True, it is definitely. I think this just supports the AFTA agreement that was signed earlier this year. That would see intertrade, relation between African countries. I think that agreement was tailored towards removing tariff, amongst African countries in order to foster trade agreement. So I think this will support that. And is actually.
Well, one would expect, that being that South Africa and Namibia are not that far off in the region, there would have been less inhibitions for business travelers from South Africa. Or we had to wait till now for the president of Namibia to make this announcement. So how have they been doing business in the past in the region?
I think in the South African region, South Africa, SADC region, South Africa appears to be the economic power in that space. So I think the Namibian president is just looking to tap into the economic resources, available in South Africa, which is actually a good one, because if there is cordial trade relationship between the two countries, then you can see both foreign direct investment and both foreign portfolio investment, flow from South Africa into Namibia, which is positive for Namibia going forward. And I think, with the globalization we've seen around the globe, and we've also seen what's happening in EU at the moment, where member countries can have free entry and free exit, into the country, and that's boosted trade in this region. I think it would be very good if other African countries, take on this initiative as well.
And it's interesting that it's coming from Namibia, because you look at, a couple of months ago, we had this issue about xenophobia in South Africa, that affected not just Nigerians, but other SADC, Southern African countries, nationals within South Africa, and you have Namibia. This is beyond an olive branch, basically. 5-year travel, 5-year visa for South African business travelers to Namibia to really boost, trade within the region. It's a huge one.
I think it's a huge one. Aside the xenophobic attack and all of that, we can take our eyes from the economic opportunities, resident in South Africa at the moment. So I think, like I said, aside those attacks, you'll be tempted to look at the positives, and just get as much juice as you can from it. Maybe the West African region can borrow a cue from this one, regarding Nigeria's border closure, which looks like it's the issue right now. All right, we're looking at keeping an eye on a couple of stories. Sudan here needs about $5 billion to avoid the collapse, and OPEC to face major challenge from competitors in 2020. That's some of these stories we'll be tracking at this point. You want to join Business Edge much later on this station, News Central, for more when it comes to business. But we've had Damilola Olupona on our studio today, financial analyst. Thank you so much for coming on. Looking to have you again. Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure. Thanks.